Whoa! I think we were a little too happy for the onomatopoeia that we're trying to establish, because this is a graveyard in this first panel.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good tonal dissonance. That's an important thing sometimes in beautiful works of art.
Because within that dissonance, you find meaning, and we are the podcast that tries to find meaning in very, very small spaces.
Yeah, and what are we trying to find? The meaning inside? Nothing other than Eiichiro Oda's One Piece. We are the Grand Line Tourist podcast, a chapter by chapter examining or re-examining of the great work. I, Jacob Jarecki, am your tourist, and sitting across from me over some Ethernet cables, maybe some, Cox router or something, maybe it's getting beamed up to a SpaceX satellite. We don't know how the internet works anymore. It's crazy. But sitting across from me somehow, is none other than
Eric Sivu, tour guide. Also, happy Chapter 50. This is Chapter 50, Episode 51, because we had shore leave.
We did have short. Yeah, I think if the way I got the feed set up, it's the numbers line up with the chapter. You always see the chapter in there, and so I think it's like our shore leaves. I'm having them be unnumbered episodes, so they should show up chronologically in the feed, hopefully, and all the other ones just kind of sync around it, meaning that your episode numbers should line up with your chapter numbers. But who knows? Let us know, right?
Let us know.
Drop us a line, throw an anchor in the water at grandlinetourist@gmail.com, and let me know that some random podcast player just doesn't show you the shore leaves, and I'll spend a good 5 hours trying to figure out why.
Yes. But yeah, exciting to go over this chapter today. This is we're starting. We're in it. We're in the middle of this arc, and it's picking up grossly. But before we can even get there, I think we need to talk about what happens in chapter 50.
Indeed. Let me unfurl the tiny itinerary that
before you read your itinerary, I do want to point out that Buggy is having his own little arc. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in the previous chapter, but he ends up being friends with Gaiman. Because he's weird. And I think we did talk about that cover, but we didn't talk about the last one where he leaves essentially in the same way that Luffy and them leave. Being friends with Gaiman and the animals.
Yeah, this makes me just think Gaiman's a good guy, he makes friends of whoever happens to be around. And Buggy, Buggy showed up.
Yep, Buggy showed up.
And what is Buggy but just another weird animal these days, I know, Buggy
exactly.
if I saw Buggy in any sort of form in real life, I'd be like, not human, right? I don't think that's a human.
He, in our cover page for chapter 50, he is being attacked by what looks like a gigantic crab in the middle of the ocean.
Indeed.
And that doesn't bode well for him because he cannot swim. Also, he is chibi.
It is strange. It says part 11, a new friend, right? And Buggy doesn't seem to be dismayed. I would say Buggy looks happy. What is this? A new friend. They're both happy.
You think the crab is the friend?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But isn't the crab the one doing the destruction?
I don't know. Well, sometimes your friends destroy. We learned that from life.
Indeed. And maybe they're building something better. The crab's destroying, Buggy's raft of a ship in order so that they can be new friends together. We'll find out, hopefully, in the continuing chapters as we get some fancy drawings. But Chibi Buggy, and now I got my Chibi itinerary, and I'm ready to roll here. We are
so cute, but so small.
Dealing with Chapter 50, A Parting of Ways. We start with a flashback.
Yes, we do.
Nami is with Johnny and Yosaku gazing at pirate bounties, and they're kind of like their pirate bounty book because they're pirate bounty hunters. And Nami just casually drags some treasure from their ship to the merry-go. Just a little bit of some treasure realignment. It just happens every now and then. It's a pirate thing. You just got to do it. And then she casually says, you know what, getting a little tired of dragging this treasure around. I need to change some clothes. While Johnny and Yosaku are distracted, she pushes them right off of the ship.
Man, boys are dumb.
I know, very stupid boys. Very stupid boys indeed. And this explains how they wound up to be where they were in the end of
the last chapter,
about the end of the previous chapter, right? Where they're like, Nami went off with the ship. But Nami went off with the ship, but Luffy can see the merry-go in the distance and insists Nami's my navigator. I don't care what Johnny and Yosako just told me about her epic betrayal and stealing of treasure. Mm-hmm. She's their navigator for the Grand Line. We're going to have to go get her. And specifically, Zoro and Usopp are going to have to go get her because Luffy says, I got to deal with some Baratier stuff. We got some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. Also, he's still Troll Boy. He can't leave yet.
So I didn't even think of that. He's an indentured servant, everybody.
Yeah.
Look it up in books. It happened to people. Don't let it happen again. Yep. And here we are. We got, but that whole thought is interrupted when Hawkeye Mihawk, the greatest swordsman in the world, shows up on his character reveal raft, as I like to call it. It's a pretty cool character reveal raft. It's got I think it has candles on it. It's beautiful.
It's weird. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And he's got this huge black sword, which we learn he can use to cut through ships. Like, whoosh, pretty crazy. And then, when a member of Don Krieg's crew, who is understandably a bit angry at these ships being destroyed, starts to fire some bullets at him, he just deflects them. Just a little wiggle.
Yeah, he just, moves it over.
Yeah, just, nothing too big, not a big deal. Just a couple bullets being deflected by an awesome-looking sword. But that does not deter Zoro, who, as we know, wants to be the greatest swordsman in the world. So he challenges Hawkeye to a fight. And Hawkeye, gives him a warning. Warns the intrepid, ambitious, maybe a little bit ignorant Zoro that, maybe not the best idea, my friend.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Nami on the prow of the merry-go in tears. I can't wait to be free. Bea Mere. I don't know how to say it. Belle Marie. She says some words that are, got an accent symbol over them.
Yeah, Belle Marie.
Free Frenchie, right? Yeah, I don't know.
I think so.
We'll learn what that means. I think eventually, I assume. But right now, that's a little bit of a teaser, a spoiler, some upcoming Nami information there. Can't wait to be free, Belle Marie. Goodness, Eric, a lot.
Let's dive into
not
it.
Too much happened, but there's a lot of cool stuff that happens. I would say, especially. The biggest one in my book, if you want to jump into talking about Hawkeye, what do you think?
Okay,
or do you
let's
have
talk
another
about
starting point?
Mihawk, the greatest swordsman in the world, right? So this is gonna be a big part of the discussion for this chapter because I think there is now, food is the main theme that we talked about, but the other theme here now is definitely ambition, because the chapter before Sanji was judging Zolo on hey man, the idea of you being the greatest swordsman in the world and going to the Grand Line is like a death wish. Why would you do it? And then Zolo says, hey, that's my thing. It's my dream to do that thing, and I have my reasons for doing it. But the difference is that Zolo's dream just showed up at his door.
It is a little bit crazy, right? I mean, he did seem like he had some idea. I don't know. Did Zoro know that Hawkeye was apparently the greatest swordsman? Well, he must have, right? Because that's why we're getting those weird clinched looks when he hears that, maybe Hawkeye is over, at the Baratier, or
it's cool because he knows that Mihawk is the best swordsman in the world, but also you're naturally scared. You're very scared of that idea of if you knew that you were gonna go play for the Olympics, you're that good, but you're also very scared about what that competition looks like. It's all about it's gonna shake your confidence just a little bit because you're human.
I'm the fastest man alive, Eric. It'll be fine.
Right.
I'm gonna win the sprints.
Right. That's what you think, but then all of a sudden you have to prove that. But I think for this one, what's cool is that Mihawk is the greatest swordsman in the world, and Zolo, for all intents and purposes, is the greatest swordsman in the East Blue. Right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody in the East Blue knows about this guy. They know who Zolo is. They know Zolo the pirate hunter, right? So he's going to go and fight that. And on the opposite end, the best pirate currently in the East Blue is Krieg. And Krieg's there. Right? And Krieg is going to eventually, we probably assume, is going to fight Luffy. So it's cool to kind of have this ambition, this power level kind of discussion that's happening really at the Baratier of all places now, where all these people kind of meet up and hang out.
Food brings people together, Eric.
Oh, maybe that's what this is all about. But for you, what did you think of Mihawk's design? What do you think does he kind of look foreboding? What do you think so far seeing him here?
I think he's got probably, at some point my memory will probably start to fail of how all the other characters were introduced. I think floating on a raft with candles with a cross that basically resembles a sword behind you has got to be the most like, we're doing this. This is metal. This is hardcore. This is you're introducing a pretty crazy character, and I don't think his character design disappoints at all. I think maybe the oddest thing about him is the face. It's this like almost looks like he's wearing a mask at all times to some extent.
Yeah.
And some very precise mustache and sideburn work with a crazy cool hat, lots of tattoos. Yeah, it's Oda just seems to keep coming up with designs that are completely unique and yet convey something of the awesomeness that is Hawkeye. And actually, I'm just looking at a panel now. I hate when I miss details. He's not tattooed. It's part of his clothes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the piece of his clothing there. Yeah.
I thought those were tattoos. I totally imagined this bare-chested man with a cloak that basically had no sleeves, and he was tatted up. But now I see it's not a sleeve of tattoos. It's just a sleeve with some cool embroidery work on it. So very interesting.
It's so cool just to kind of see his design. He is very intimidating. Like, this is the most intense character that, like, Oda... I don't know how Oda did it, but you can kind of tell that he is very powerful. Like, he is very... Like, he drew Mihawk with so much confidence. And also, I love that Mihawk says, when they ask him why they did it, and he's chasing him, he's like, it's for fun now.
that's some people want to watch the world burn, so to speak. It's like almost, it's not even that. This is like for fun. It's almost like a little layer in between, right? Like, I thought it'd be fun.
And there's also, I think it's also a testament to how wrong Krieg is about power. Because he is literally, like you're saying, he's floating on a raft. A raft in a chair with candles. And it's fine. But all of Krieg's armada is gone now. He by himself on his raft has destroyed all of his 50 ships and his.
Krieg needs to think through his strategy. He needs to be like, I need to eat gum fruit. I need to get me something. I obtained this awesome armor, but which, to be honest, we haven't seen him get into a real one-on-one fight yet, so we don't know. Maybe that's gonna play pretty well. Mm-hmm. Maybe one sword cannot deflect bullets from so many different directions.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. This Hawkeye fellow seems unfazed. Seems like I think he would be ready to deal with it, but we'll find out.
But I think it's fun, and I think having Mihawk show up this early really serves as a conversation or as a theme about ambition, right? Like, now your ambition's here, and we're gonna see how Zolo deals with it. Because when you get this sort of early competition, early testing of your skills, it is adversity depending on what way it goes. If you win, it's not adversity. It's your hard work paying off. But if the opposite happens, then it is how does a character deal with failure and all this stuff. Do you have a guess on how this is gonna go for Zolo?
It feels a little too early for Zoro just to blast through and achieve success.
Right.
So I don't know if it's going to necessarily be failure or there's going to be, some complications that lead to maybe a battle happening or not happening. But I don't anticipate Zoro, holding Hawkeye's sword any moment soon.
Yeah, man, I love it. Do you have any other additional thoughts about Mihawk here? It's a very intimidating. I love what he says about the sword, right? Subtlety, subtlety is like sword work. Without it, it's just an iron bar.
There you go. Yeah, no, you need to be able to use that tool. If I think the closest thing I can relate to is I enjoy cooking, and I need to get a real chef's knife. Eric, do you have a real chef's knife? When you go to the kitchen, I have some some kitchen art whatever thing that came in a block of knives, but I want a real chef's knife, and then I can I already wield this crappy kitchen aid thing like a beautiful blade, not just a piece of iron, but now I'm deserving of a blade like that to chop my carrots and stuff.
All right, look at you combining both characters in this arc. Zolo and
I assume Oda's gonna do it soon. If that knife does not cut some sort of, if the big sword does not cut some sort of food by the next 10 chapters, you can take my tinfoil hat, crumple it up, and throw it into the East Blue.
I was just gonna say, is this a tinfoil?
Get it down. Put it in the ship's log.
Are you saying that you're guessing that Mihawk will eventually chop some vegetables or culinary stuff? Is that a guess? Is that the I'm going to
go with
guess?
Mihawk's sword. Mihawk's sword will eventually chop some vegetables. Whether or not Mihawk is wielding it, uncertain, Mihawk's sword will chop some veggies.
Okay, veggies specifically?
I probably shouldn't have been so specific with veggies, but we're sticking with it. That's the only thing that would even need that type of sword. If he chops some food, I'm gonna give myself like half credit, but veggies particularly.
All right, Mihawk will chop veggies with his sword.
Yeah, with the big one.
Okay, with the
big
big
sword
one.
on his back. Yeah,
okay.
No, I mean, now he's going to chop a tomato, and we're going to get people writing in, and they're going to be like, that's a fruit. And I'll be like, tag nabbit.
With sword by end of arc?
Sure. Put by end of arc. Let's do it. By the end of arc, yes, there will be food that is chopped. Calling it now.
Mihawk's giant blade while Mihawk is wielding said blade. All right, it's in it. Is it too specific?
Well, no. Not necessarily while Mihawk's wielding the blade. Could be any blade.
Okay.
Maybe Zoro comes out on top.
All right. Let's do it.
And then, I mean, Zoro's a hungry fellow. Luffy likes to eat, and Zoro's going to say, putting the blade to good use. There's no one to fight me because I'm the greatest now because I just quickly got through HAWKEYE, so I'm good to go. Let's cut some veggies.
All right. Any last thoughts on Mihawk before I move on to the next discussion? No.
I think we've given Mihawk enough of our eagle-eyed attention, so to speak.
Oh, nice. Look at you paying off weird things set up within the chapter.
Weird things. Paid off.
Okay, so this next section I'm calling Foreshadows of the Past. Ooh, I really tickled myself when I wrote that line, so now I'm going to use it. Also, it's like nonsensical. Anyways, this is all about Nami, because it's obviously foreshadowing something. But it's something from the past. So I guess
we've seen some looks from Nami in other chapters of like something, like a moment where everyone else is like happy and she looks concerned. So I do think we've kind of been building up to something with Nami's character, and you're saying now we're getting it a little, but I don't know what it is. I don't have a great idea of what it is. I mean, all we had, like the biggest reveal is literally the word she says, but maybe you got something else.
Yeah, no, there's a big reveal earlier. There was actually a big foreshadow too, because we actually saw the bounty thing that she was looking at, and I'm assuming it's the same bounty, like the bounty flyer, wanted flyer that she was looking at from before, but there's a silhouette there. That's cool, because Oda likes to use silhouettes as foreshadows, because Zolo had a foreshadow silhouette way back when in like chapter, 2 or 3, when they were talking about the pirate hunter. So that's cool. It's kind of cool to see there.
Wait, and so you were saying you could see the silhouette of the person in the bounty?
Yeah, way at the beginning of this arc.
At the beginning of the arc. Okay, no, I thought you were saying when she was looking through the book.
No, not this chapter. Way before they got to the Baratier, when they were dealing with, what's his name? Full-bodied, is that his name? Full-body, whatever. The dumb.
Oh yeah,
the dumb.
I kind of completely forgot that he even showed up at the Baratier.
I was doing the reread. I was hoping he's gonna show back up, but I don't remember. I doubt it at this point. Because now is
maybe that was just a little bit of world building, We got this dude.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. So I mean, this is all good, but also another thing that was kind of foreshadowed is that she does mention that she never swore allegiance.
That's true. I feel like to me that's more of like I got to do this thing. I'm pressured to do this thing. I need good excuses for my friends, right? And she's like, it's just me. I'm Nami. I steal stuff. You can't. I'm not very. I don't have very strong loyalty, so this is what you're dealing with, right? But I feel like that might be all properties of whatever she's dealing with. To cling to my Nami's not actually a bad person sort of desires. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would say that this is definitely the trope that I kind of wrote for this is like a character with deep obligation to some sort of trauma that pulls them away from their wants. Because that's kind of like
this is Hollywood's never done this at all.
Right, but also they've done it all the time, right? Like it is one of those things where it's just that type of thing. Yeah, because it's very obvious that she doesn't want to go, especially at the end where she's crying so hard. It makes you really it's cool to see it happen at this point in the arc, because the arc is just really picking up to, like, I would say Act 2 of the arc, where the conflicts are starting to pick up and there's like a lot of things that are about to happen. So it's cool to see her go, to have Oda have her go now, because now it makes you wonder, like, what is this thing that she is dealing with that she has to, quote unquote, betray her friends so hard.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's pretty interesting. And, we brought up Nami. I did have a point on my thing that I think I would just really like to touch on is, what do you think of the whole, I'm changing, look away, push off the boat sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's definitely like, it's kind of more of a kiddie thing, but also, I don't know, maybe it's just like culturally, I've seen multiple animes and mangas kind of use that play where like a girl's changing so the boys will like turn around and all that stuff. It's like it's played up like a goof, but they always do kind of like a sneaky pervy line in there of like, well, maybe we could just look a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. I like, to me, it's sort of like a it's an aspect of culture I don't think that ages well. Like,
yes.
It's also interesting though, because Oda is sure here to make Nami get her like, I think comeuppance is the right word, right? Like Yosaku and Johnny get their comeuppance for their, dirty thoughts by getting pushed off the boat, right? So there's a small punishment, but it's not really, I think that what it is the punishment's not too big and the behavior isn't considered bad, right? Mm-hmm. What they did was considered, that's just what guys do, right? No big deal. They got splashed in the water. Right. It was okay that Nami did that because they did that. And so it's one of those things that is just interesting to see when you read stuff that's a little bit older, and
I think it
would also be interesting to see. It could be a Japanese culture thing. I wonder once we get to like current One Piece if that's something that gets more or less, or it's interesting.
You're about to fold into because you're so fresh to the whole anime and manga genres in general.
Yeah. I've got some. I have some understanding of anime and the sexual appeal aspect that often comes into play with some of them. So
we'll have to see. Yeah, you'll see more.
Oh no! No!
I think the big thing too that I kind of want to touch upon with you is that I think the reason why this is a story trope, this whole character that's obligated by deep trauma, is that it does show up in real life, and this is kind of deep. And I was gonna ask you, like, have you ever, like, had this or met people with these type of things, like deep obligations to family or deep obligations to where you could clearly tell that they have to stop doing the thing they're doing to go, support or do something else. And for me, I will say that a lot of that kind of happens, and I think it happens to a lot of folks, because then there's the time in your life that you see a lot of different people is college, right? Like you go to college and you see different people go to college, and then eventually, like, some of them have to quit for different, like, obligations, whether it be family or whether it be money or whether it be all these different things, right? Like, that's kind of where I think, at least for American kids growing up in like a typical American life, kind of you see the effects kind of happen. It can even happen in high school, I think, but I don't know. That might be a little deeper, but
no, I think I've noticed, to be honest, probably along the cultural lines of me being a little bit more generic white American, and I actually grew up in an area that had a lot of Asian families in the neighborhood, and I met lots of great friends and everything. And I think one thing I always kind of dismissed was the cultural pull towards obligation to family that they had.
Yeah.
That like would make them say things like that felt like, oh well, that could never happen, right? Like I could never go to college outside the state, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and for me, it was always just interesting of how sure and how confident they were when they said that, right? That like this whole aspect of life that wasn't pressured onto me. I did go to college inside the state. It's
right.
Like, I mean, I felt the pressure for a different reason of just like, I like my family. They felt it more for like a cultural reason, and and probably also they like their family.
Hopefully.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, that's where I was less sure, and that's where I was. That's where I would probably try to probe a little bit and be like, well, but like, you don't like your family, man.
Right, but then he's like, well, I gotta, or he or she would be like, well, I still gotta stay, sort of deal.
No, so I've noticed as I've gotten older, probably just we're given a lot of those types of environments when we're younger, and when we just we take it because we don't know what else to do. We don't. It's pretty unnatural to fathom a different type of world and then try to live in it when you've already got this one that makes sense and it's the way the world works to you. So I've noticed those sort of pulls in a lot of people. What about you? You brought this up. Maybe you have a specific example.
No, I think just in general, like I did go to school with the person who who had a kid at a very young age. And that person eventually had to like make a lot of decisions. Should I stay? Okay. Should I go back? Right? Because it was, God bless the situation that person was in, but they were able to have like support and have support at home to watch the child and all that stuff. But at the same time, you're still a parent, and can you still be a college student and a parent at the same time? And I don't know why I attach that to Nami, because Nami is kind of a weird thing where there is this thing that she is being driven back to before, but for like, when did we meet her? Chapter 15 or so? Right? We met her
like that.
early for about almost 35 to 40 chapters. She was more or less part of Luffy's crew. So, like, it makes you... And then what I guess the whole point of this conversation, why I brought it up, is like...
Oh, that's just weird. Because you can imagine, like, in the back of her mind, for all those 35 to 40 chapters, it was always about this other thing.
She always had to go back. Right? And that thing, and I think that's really cool, one, to have a character dealing with so much stuff like that in a children's, like, manga, right? It's cool to kind of show kids, like, how powerful trauma is, or an obligation to a thing. And I think it's cool to see, because this is something that he built back in from the beginning, I think, is what we're kind of, from the moment we met Nami. Because Nami's never once say, I'm going to agree to do it. Kind of like how Sanji's fighting now, too. Right? Sanji's like, I'm not part of your crew. Don't wrap me in to this thing. Wrap me in this. And it is cool, because that's such a cool thing to have happen so early, and to try to show this theme of like how deep trauma can go, and how obligations and certain things that you think you need to do, that's part of your character, that's part of the things that makes your identity, how we're going to pay it off. And hopefully, I don't know, after this, who knows? Well, I know, but you don't know.
I don't know. No, and you really brought up something in my mind that's kind of interesting, especially when you mentioned, like, oh, this is in a children's manga, right?
Yeah.
The idea that for children, when they see you, they assume they're seeing everything.
Yep.
And that's like kind of what this lesson is, right? You can see Nami, she can do things, but you're not understanding her whole person. And this just reminds me of one time when I was visiting a friend who, has some kids and cousins over, and I hung out and played with them for a bit, and the kids and cousins are like, when are we going to see Jacob again, right? And this was kind of like, we don't live too close to each other, It was just like, they saw me as a new playmate friend, and they're just like, oh, Jacob will be back for sure, probably tomorrow, right? Like, when are you going to be here next? And it's like, well, kid, there's a whole life I got, and I know they can't even imagine it, right? They just know that we hung out, we played with some chalk, and they're just like, when's that happening again? We want to do that again. And I'm just like, sorry, kids, maybe like in a month and a half when I visit my friend again.
Yeah, and then, I was just thinking when you were just talking about that stuff, and we've talked about the theme about ambitions and everything, and how we've said that the Grand Line is kind of a metaphor for ambition and change. And Nami crying at the end of this chapter reminds me of, like, it's just a constant, whatever trauma she has, whatever thing she has to deal with, it represents the fact that she can't change. Like, she literally says at the end of this thing, well, I can't be free. Therefore, like, I can't pursue the Grand Line. I can't pursue the change that I want. Which is what Luffy and Zolo and Usopp now represent. They're the forward change, their ambition that goes towards change, yeah.
Yeah, well, they have the luxury of pursuing their Grand Line unburdened.
Yes,
yeah. Nami has, like, a whole nother stage to, like, I mean, we can almost think about it as Nami's pursuing her Grand Line, but she has, like, this side quest that needs to be done, apparently.
Yes.
Before she can even think about the other things, Right.
Kind of
reminded me of what you said about, like, can the college student that wants to pursue her dreams have a kid at the same time?
Right.
And it's like, well, I mean, it's kind of like this needs to be dealt with. There's not like a, I'm not unburdened. I'm not untethered. I can't just, I will be the greatest swordsman. And like,
I never realized how Sanji, I mean, it's obviously Sanji's the arc here, but there's a lot of stuff discussing the different levels of Sanji's things, right? Because Sanji is also a person who doesn't want to change. Whereas Nami is the opposite end. She does want to change, right? She does want to stay with them, but she can't.
Yeah, and that might be a little bit of a tour guide-y thing for you. Like, I don't have a read on whether Nami really wants to change, right? Like, I have this feeling that she is under this obligation, but, like, yeah, maybe she hasn't done anything too bad. I mean, besides occasionally disappointing people by not showing up or stealing their treasure, I mean, she's not too bad of a person.
Well, she stole
it's not like
all of the merry-go, so...
And, she's going to come back with her freedom, and it's all going to be good.
And it's one of those things, too, do you think... This is kind of a deeper cut, and you can tell me, but does it feel like she's stealing the merry-go in hopes that they would chase her?
Oh. Well, she does say, I hope they can, meet again somehow. To me, that doesn't lean towards... Does she hope that they're going to chase her?
Because that ship, they spent a whole, like, the last arc was all about, and eventually,
I think
it was like the combination.
I think that she can't comprehend that hope. I think if you asked her, do you hope they chase you? She'd be like, yeah, but that's not going to happen, you know?
Right,
and I think maybe that's what the fortitude of Luffy kind of allows in this story, is this, like, she's my navigator, which is kind of like maybe the bogus thing to say. Like, we're dealing with HAWKEYE right now.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen? And yet you want to go chase after someone who stole a ship. I guess they were... To be honest, it feels like Luffy should be a little more concerned about the Merry-Go, as like, you know, his pirate armada is starting with that ship, I assume. But it
he's
seems
more
to be like ships.
He's more obsessed with the person on the ship right now who's leaving, that he has already decided that he wants, which is it's a very Luffy thing. I think the great thing about Luffy, it kind of goes back to what you said about kids, right? Kids kind of, when they see something that's like that, everything, and I think Luffy kind of pays that off for sure. And in a very sweet way, which is like, I see you as everything.
Yeah, well, and what I want to know is, I think a huge potential character growth moment for Luffy would be the first time his I see you is met with circumstances that are not going to change. Mm-hmm. So, like, let's say the end of this is Nami's not going to be the navigator, right? Mm-hmm. Like, watching Luffy contend with that mentally would be a character growth moment for him. It may not. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen with Nami right here, but it would be interesting for him to set his sights on somebody and have it become an impossibility that he will have to engage with. So that's kind of maybe a hope for some future arcs potentially, or even this one. I don't know.
Yeah, man, we got it. So I mean, just to kind of wrap it up into a nice little bow, because now that it's like I can't get past this idea of how everything is kind of just different representation of like Sanji's argument. One side is Zolo. Right? One side is Zolo with his stupid ambition who's going to go into death for no reason. And now, literally, like, the number one swordsman of the world has showed up to his doorstep. What's Zolo going to do, right? Sanji's going to watch that happen. Sanji also watched somebody who is a little more connected to Sanji's sort of deal, which is that I can't leave. I got to do this thing, which is Nami, who just took off. Right? So now now he gets to watch literally two sides of his coin kind of being flipped. And what's he gonna think? What's he going to do? Yeah. How's he gonna interpret it? I think is my most interest. Like, I'm very interested in how this happens for him in the next few chapters.
Yeah.
All right.
No, so moving right along, it's kind of interesting that this is some serious stuff going on. I could struggle to come up with a joke line, but maybe this is OP got no jokes.
OP is too serious.
OP too serious today.
OP has exposition to handle this chapter.
All right, very good. So in that case, you know what? This is exciting because that means I can draw my chef's knife right out of my kitchenette diner and attack you, Eric.
Oh, attack! It's always been a friendly tossing of panels, never been violence, Jacob.
Today, I want to cut carrots, and just like I cut carrots, I cut at the panel you send my way. That's just a straight-up challenge for you to send your panel right across
the interwebs,
the SpaceX Amazon Telescope hub web that will lead to my Discord server. And no one's going to look at this picture as you send it. Not a single person. Just you and me. Completely private, confidential.
In our panel battle, which is our segment where we toss panels at each other and say, which one's better? Put them in a fight, and they fight each other, and then they do it. Typically, we try to decide. Sometimes we decide amongst us two who accidentally has the best one, which is fair because most of the time it's just a segment that allows us to geek out about a panel and how great Oda is as an artist. Overall, though, it doesn't have to be just me and Jacob fighting each other with panels. You all can join in too. And the way you do that is how do they join into this fight?
You get out your keyboard. Mm-hmm. You boot up your favorite email client. You look into that thing that says TO : and you type in not nameofpodcast@gmail.com because that's going to go who knows where. We're going to send it straight to grandlinetourist@gmail.com. And the I don't know what color your eyes are, but actually, do I even know what color my eyes are? I don't know, my brownish green, depending on the light, eyes will gaze upon it. Wait, what was yours?
Mine's pretty brown. At least that's what it says on my driver's license.
Okay, there we go. There we go. These eyes of these colors will look upon your email, and we will send you into the ring, into the ocean on rafts,
into the panel
get out with
battle by emailing nameofpodcast@gmail.com.
No. Send it my way, Eric. I'm ready for you. I've been waiting for this moment.
I hope we chose the same one.
Oof. Oh my goodness. Let me just quickly send you my panel right here. Oh, yeah, we did. It's happened again.
I mean, isn't that the best panel of the chapter?
It is the best,
right?
This battle has dissolved. It is now
an agreement.
Me and you praising what is basically the character splash for Hawkeye Mihawk.
Yeah, and he has his fun little nameplate.
You know what? Mm-hmm. Yeah, back and forth the details. You got the nameplate. I'm gonna point out the doom that is in the background. It has some specific character tonality to it. It's a special font.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Western looking thing, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Kind of fits with his hat, with his little I assume it's the poofy thing on his hat.
Is it weird for me to say he has like a kind of a Spanish thing going too for him, like a design wise?
Yeah, and I think the little cross necklace kind of helps out with that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a lot
of little feel, like a conquistador feel, and then the weird Guy Fawkes-esque face mask is I don't know. Got some boots with buckles. I also want to point out that the cross on his neck is kind of repeated by the cross that is his sword on his back.
Yeah. I think my favorite line when they're like, how did he destroy that ship? He's like, with that thing on his back. What is that? Was like, with that, it's on his back.
His special weapon is on his back.
Right? Like when Zeph just like, how did he do it? Well, it's his special weapon on his back. That's what cut it. And I think what drew me to it is like he's on this throne. We get this cool little foreground of him, but in the background is the wreckage of the ship his wreckage of what he just did.
Yeah,
he's so cool.
And then underneath his thing, the Hawkeye Mihawk, the greatest swordsman in the world. It's right there, right on his back. The one fun thing to point out about this panel as well, this big splash, full page, is everything is kind of like aligned. There's this he's perfectly centered in the panel. There's some post on the little raft that he's floating on that lines up with the up and down nature of his sword, and that which lines up with the cross, which lines up with his folded arms, and yet he crosses one leg over the other. It kind of ruins that a little bit. Oda, I think, just wanted to throw in a little imbalance to this whole splash here. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just a little
I like that. Well, I think I like the leg cross because it adds the casualness to this whole situation. It is nothing to him. What he just did was nothing. That's the same as you and I texting while we sit, is what he just did, right? Like, that's what Mihawk just did to this ship. All right, it doesn't do anything. He's casually about it. Now that you bring up this leg, I love it so much now. Like
it's fun. No, I mean it's your choice when you're drawing or making something, right? You got a pattern, you're going with it, and then you get the choice and you say, "Nah, I'm breaking the pattern right here. Legs crossed," and then that says something, right? Which is quite cool.
He's literally the record. He's the reckoning. He's changed moving forward towards everybody here, right? Because when I kept thinking about why did he choose so many crosses? Like, it looks literally like a Christian, like the Christian Jesus cross, like 100%, right?
Yeah,
it's like he's the Messiah of change floating towards them. He is this big biblical thing from the Grand Line that destroyed them for fun. Right, he is
indeed
this overpowering thing that is here to change.
Jesus has taken a dark turn.
Yeah,
in his morality.
I love it, and now we get to see how this plays out in the next chapter with Zolo.
Yeah, and you know what? Before we do that, I feel like there's a big sword on your back, and it may be ready to deflect some bullets that I'm ready to fire at you because I'm not too pleased about you just coming here and breaking my boats and stuff.
Okay.
You got that sword ready? You think you're going to be able to draw that fast and I'm going to be able to draw my little pistol and shoot some bullets your way?
Oh, dude. Watch it, dude. Watch me do it with such subtlety. Oh, my God.
All right. Here I come.
Shing. I'm safe.